Hello! Today I'm going to show you how I made this cute Christmas card. For this I used this little snowman from the Ready Set Snow stamp set from Lawn Fawn and this little sugar shaker. I started by stamping the elements I needed for the card in Memento tuxedo black, which is resistant to alcohol markers, as I'm going to color them in with my Spectrum Noir markers. So I started by coloring the scarves of the snowman, and I used DR5 and DR7 for this. And I laid the darkest part of the color at the outside, so it gives a little bit of a rounded effect. And then with the lightest color, I pull this darker color in, so it gives a nice blended effect. Then for the head of the snowman on the left, I'm gonna color it in the traditional colors as well, so it will be red. And these little parts of the rim of the head, I'm gonna leave half of them white. And then for the snowmen themselves, I wanted to have them as white as possible, but not completely white. So I used IG1, which is an ice gray, and it's the lightest one in the set, to give a little bit of shadow on the left side of the snowman and underneath the scarf. And I'm not bothering for blending, because when it dries, it will be so light you don't need to blend. Well, the little shaker thingies, I'm gonna color them as soon as I put them on the card, because then I can see exactly where I want the shadows to be. And the noses of the snowman I colored with OR1, which is a nice orange. Now then the earmuffs and the parts of the head of the snowman on the left that I wanted to have a little bit of white color, but not the same as the snowman. I used a Uniball white gelpen for that. And I'm also gonna give this scarf on the right, a little dotted effect. So here's the overview of the colored images, and I put them aside to let them dry completely. So now for the background, I used the standard sized card, and I cut off on the top side and on one of the right or left sides. I'm gonna cut off 1 centimeter. So when you place them on top of your card base, you have a nice edge showing. Now then for the background, I'm gonna use 2 distress inks, and I'm gonna blend them together to give a nice night sky effect. So the first and darkest color is Dusty Concord, which is the purple one I put on top, and the second one is Mermaid Lagoon. And I'm gonna work these two back and forth until I'm happy with the results and there's no clear division between the colors. The last color I'm gonna use is Peacock Feathers, also from Distress ink, and I think it's a really nice vibrant color, which really makes the whole night sky a little bit lighter. The bottom part of the card I'm not gonna color, because I'm gonna glue some paper on top of it, so it's a really nice place to put your fingers, because when you place your fingers on wet distress ink, it will leave an impression and you will smear the ink, which is a pity, of course. Also this color I'm gonna blend with this Mermaid Lagoon, and then this background is finished and I'm happy with the results. In the meantime, my little snowman and images have dried, so I'm gonna run them through my die cut machine to cut them out. And now for this little hillside, I used the Lawn Fawn hillside borders, which are stitched, but I used the negatives in this case, so there's no stitching showing. And of course the stitched parts you can use on another card. And then I trimmed them down to the sides, to the size I wanted, and I'm glued them down with a very sticky permanent adhesive. So I line them up perfectly with the sides of the card and then glue them down. And before I glue down the other one, I trim this piece off, which is overlapping, which is really easy to do when you turn the card upside down. And then the second part I also glue down with the same adhesive. Okay, then I will start by stamping out Let It Snow. And for this I use the stamp set and spell the words myself. And I'm gonna stamp them with some pigment ink from Lawn Fawn, which is Yeti in this case, and it's a very nice ink for stamping on darker backgrounds. So I'm going to ink it up really well. And see that the W needed some more ink. And then I'm going to press it down and let it soak into the paper a little bit. Okay. Because I used pigment ink, I have to be really careful not to touch it when it dries. And I'm going ahead and gluing down these little sugar shakers with liquid glue, so I can move them around a little bit until I'm happy with the position. And also the other one. Okay, and now it's time to color them in. I also used IG1 for this, and when you go over multiple times the color will get darker, so that's what I'm doing for the nozzle part where the sugar comes out. So then I'm putting the little snowflakes, also from the set Ready Set Snow, onto my acrylic block and stamp them one by one with the same pigment ink, like they're sprinkled on top of the snowman. And I start with the largest snowflakes first, and then use the smaller ones to fill in the gaps. And in the meantime, I clean off this pigment ink really well, which takes a little bit more time than cleaning off dye ink, but you should really do so because otherwise it will stain your stems, and that's a pity. Okay, so before I'm going to glue down my snowman, I want to make sure that all the ink that I have applied is really dry, otherwise I will smear it and when gluing this panel onto my card. So for that I'm going to use my heat gun and dry the ink completely. So as my background I'm going to use this purplish card base. And before I'm adding the snowman, I'm going to adhere this panel with some very sticky adhesive onto the card. So I'm lining it up because when you press this down, there's no movement anymore. Okay, then it's time to add the snowman. I'm going to glue them down with a little bit of foam tape, so there's a little bit more dimension on this card. And before I do so, I want to make sure that they're both positioned perfectly. And when they are, I peel off the backing paper and glue them down. And then my card finished. I hope you really enjoyed this project and got inspired to try it for yourself sometimes. Here's a picture of the end result. Until next time, bye bye!